And we are live here on the internet. And this is Tabletop Junkie bringing you another review of a tabletop RPG. Before we get started, I'd like to just point out I do apologize. I normally do two streams a week, and I try to do one at the beginning of the week, like Monday, one near the end or close to. And this week has just been a very terrible week for me, so I haven't been able to get anything done as far as streaming is concerned. And it's really, really upsetted me because this is a hobby that I'm doing. Um, and it's a hobby that's very important to me. I don't really see that unless I have something important to do in life. I don't really see like an errand or something. I don't really see why I'm constantly getting interrupted by people and their useless ramblings. Um, and I hate to put it like that. That was basically most of my week is I have had to entertain people unannounced, number one, which is a big pet peeve of mine. Do not have me tend with you unannounced. And if you're going to tell me you're going to be somewhere at a certain time, then be there. I have things to do too, even if it's just this, I don't really care. You're cutting into my time. So I'm not going to go too much into that, but that's been most of my week is I've had people just come to me unannounced and then unannouncedly stay at my place. And I'm sitting here like, do you guys got something else better to do? And, like I had an argument with someone recently and I asked them if they had something else better to do. I literally did because I'm like, do you have something else better to do? Because like you came over here unannounced and it's not that I'm not grateful to see you. It's you're completely unannounced and I had other plans today. And they said, well, are your other plans important? How do you answer that? That's a good question. I want to know how you answer that because to me, they're important. They may not actually be important in life, but to me, they're important. And that's not really an answer they were looking for. So I ended up having a huge issue, which canceled my stream twice because I bothered to just skip a day, wait for a day to cool off, because this happened on a Monday and I decided to wait for a day. So I skipped Tuesday, went to Wednesday, and then Wednesday was a complete joke as well. Back to the same argument. I had this argument with people for 3 days, and then Thursday just did not happen. I can't even remember what happened yesterday. Well, something happened yesterday, and I'm just like, oh, yeah. I had an unexpected errand I had to run. So it's just been that week. So I'm here today, here to do a review using the Fake System Toolkit. And that is what I'm here to do today. Now, I do have some more announcements to do besides just complain to you guys about for like the first 3 minutes about what was going on this week. But I wanted to apologize to my current viewers plus future viewers that are looking in on the stream that is why you didn't see a brand new video. I'm trying to bring out these videos and do these streams on a more consistent basis. I want consistency. I'm a very consistent person, but you guys wouldn't know that. None of my viewers would know that because I'm not consistent right now. And it is actually, believe it or not, it's really honestly bothering me more than anything. So anyway, without further ado, I do got some announcements I'm going to do near the end here. We're going to go over the Fake System Toolkit. So I guess the main thing we're going to start is what is the Fate System Toolkit used for? Well, this book is used to make Fate Core plus Fate Accelerated system hackable, meaning adding your own flair to the setting or game that you are running. Basically, whatever you want to do. It gives you tips and tricks. Honestly, it's like a tips and tricks book to me. You guys can get this on DriveThruRPG. Do not ask me on the price. I think it's still pay what you want, but you may check it maybe more than that. But I will post a link for DriveThruRPG, and I will post a link for Evil Hat Productions again down in my description here on my YouTube channel, so that way you guys can actually take a look for yourself. I do recommend buying this book. This was when I first got into Fate, I bought 2 books. Two books. I think I bought 2 books. 2 physical copies because I wanted them the most. My favorite one is Fate Core, and then I did the Fate System Toolkit, and I think I did the 2 physical copies back to back. because they were important that I had those books together. Like I said, the Fate System Toolkit is used to add your own flair. I have used this to add my own flair to things. It gives you a lot of tips and tricks to use in the book. They do go over some things called the rules versus the rulings, the bronze rule, which are for GMs, and then things that players can also follow this as well. It's got a lot of stuff in it, and I'm not going to go through each. I'm not going to break apart the book and go through each and every piece, because as much as I hate to say it, there's a lot of information in there. This is I think the Fate Core book was actually over 300 pages. This is almost over 200, so it's over half the book, over half the number of pages that's in the main core book itself. So one of the things we are going to talk about is, what does the Fate System Toolkit provide as far as aspects? Well, they do add in some really cool things, like they talk about invoking for effects, skilled invocations. Now, when they talk about invoking for effect, when they're talking about invoking for effect, they're talking about, instead of just doing this simple +2 or reroll when you invoke a certain aspect, they're talking about adding a different type of flair or story detail to it. And they give you some actual tips and tricks in there about what else you could use it for. This goes beyond anything that's just in the regular core book. And then the scaled invocations, which I jumped ahead previously before. This one I do like because they talk about 3 categories of invocations: teeniest invocation, relevant invocation, and perfect invocation. And they actually break down the scaled invocations. They actually put scale on aspects. And I think that's just, to me, that is something that is just, it's amazing. It's just, you got to check it out. All right. And then detonating a situation aspect. Now, that one's my personal favorite. That is basically using a situational aspect in the proper situation that you're supposed to use it in, which is basically like works in the invokes, so, works as properly in the invokes of the compels. A situation aspect could be environmental, as we've spoken about before. It could be something that, infects the zone. So, well, I just covered that, environment. It could even be, you have something wrong with your car, a gas leak, and you, well, I have a gas leak, so I ran out of gas, or someone lit a match and accidentally dropped it. So you're going to invoke gas leak and explode the car that you guys are in. Why would you guys do that? I don't know. Maybe you do that to the bad guys. They actually go through some other things in the books. And like I said, I'm not trying to break apart this book and tell you what it is. I want you guys to go and read for yourselves, because it is worthwhile checking out. Such as they even have stuff like for aspects such as genre aspects that are only related to your genre, and such as low-powered aspects. Those are my favorite. Low-powered aspects is an aspect that you can kind of like freely invoke, or you spend a fate point to invoke, but you get it right back because it doesn't really do much. It doesn't give you a +2, doesn't give you a reroll. It may declare a story detail or something small, very, very small. That's why they call it a low-powered aspect. So, in a sense, you spend a fate point, but the GM is supposed to give it back to you based on what you're doing. And it goes into, I think that's like I think that's like over half a page or a page long to read. That is some good paragraphs, and that is some good reading. There is low-powered aspects, and then quest aspects. We've seen quest aspects before, because to me, quest aspects are related to the game. And now you guys have seen that, because the game aspects is what I use for sort of quests or individual like, what's the word? Not objections. Objectives. I was close. Yeah, quest aspects are sort of like objectives that you have to complete, of which, the GM can compel, or you can invoke, or either or, whatever, however it makes sense. That's basically what I was doing when you guys were watching us play the that matrix setting, that the White Rabbit. When you guys were watching us do that, I was actually dealing with the quest aspects. So I have taken aspects, I have taken the tips and tricks from this book and applied it to the game way before I even did a review on this. So yeah, there's a lot of good ideas. A couple of the things that they do talk about is gear aspects. Gear aspects is using aspects to create gear, or create a relationship with a set of gear, such as a jetpack or a special gun. Many different things. And honestly, that doesn't really spend a whole lot of time talking about that, but they do hit the nail on the head when you do read through gear aspects. And then they even talk about how you, instead of doing consequences, they even have something where you can adjust your game to do conditions, which is similar to consequences, but they're predefined. And they actually have different scores for which one. So whenever you, but the predefined ones also have to make sense to why you're checking them off, or you got to take the stress box. You got to take, so you don't get to choose between the consequence box or the condition box and the stress box. I mean, you can do the condition if the condition makes sense. And like if for instance, if a spraying arm makes sense, then that's okay. And I think a spraying arm is a thing in the book as a condition, and you can even predefine these conditions, but the predefined conditions go 1, 2, and 4. So like so if you do a spraying arm instead, that only takes away one shift of stress, and then you get the rest you got to take in stress boxes. So you don't really get much of a choice there. I don't really mess with conditions too much. I just like the idea of you guys can create your own consequences and go from there. Whatever makes sense. I mean, the GM gets final ruling in that as well. So that is what the Fate System Toolkit offers as far as aspects. That's what they talk about. It is a very good read. I cannot glorify it enough. I do love Fate in this type of setting. I do love it. I mean, what more can I say? And the System Toolkit just allows you to add so much more flair. Just on aspects alone, we just talked about a ton of flair. So the next thing that we are going to talk about is, what does the Fate System Toolkit bring for skills? Well, this actually walks you through some ideas such as adding or removing skills, reskinning or alterations. Now, when I say adding or removing, that is or even changing or reskinning or alterations. When we talk about those, we're going to get into some things. Okay, you are given in the Fate System Toolkit, or in the Fate Core book, you are given a list of predefined skills, 18. They're default. That is what is common that Evil Hat Productions has added in there, just to give you guys a starting point. But you can add or you can remove skills that don't make sense to your setting. You can add skills that make sense. You can remove skills that don't make sense. So it actually just tells you how to do that, which that doesn't spend a lot of time to do that, because that is a pretty easy, adding and removing skills is a pretty easy thing. Now, reskinning and alterations are my personal favorite. The reason for that is because, well, lore may be more something for a medieval setting, but you're not playing medieval setting. You're playing, let's say, a modern setting or a sci-fi setting. It might be more prevalent to change lore, and this is where the alteration comes from. You change lore to knowledge. It's the same skill, you just change the name. Drive becomes ride or pilot, whatever makes sense to the setting and what doesn't make sense to the setting. Obviously, if you're playing a Wild West setting, you're not going to use drive to ride a horse. You're not going to use drive to pilot a starship or even a small star fighter. So you would change that, but it would be the same basic thing. That's alteration, or we like to call it reskinning as well. Alteration, to me, when you say alterations, we're talking about, you changing one skill, you change the name of that skill, and you change some of the things that skill actually offers. I think a good thing of alteration, I have no idea what would be the difference between reskinning or alterations. It is or, not and. But that's a good example of reskinning to me. I guess alterations is adding a action that skill wouldn't normally have without, but you add it for everyone. No one has to spend a fate point to do that extra action, because it already offers that up as part of why it makes sense to your setting. Or if you changing how that skill works, and taking away actions based on how it makes sense or doesn't make sense to the setting. It is all, I hate to break it to you guys, but here I am rambling and I keep saying the same thing for 15 straight minutes. It is based on what you are doing, and it is your choice. That is what all this toolkit offers. And it's worth buying because it offers tips and tricks about how to go do that. It offers you ideas. I can't say that every book does that, but this one does, and it has helped me out. I have taken, we haven't made it there yet, but at the end of this, I'm going to tell you guys what I have taken from this book and what I've used. But before we go there, we'll talk about the next thing that this toolkit offers as ideas for skills is expansion or compression, which is what we were just talking about. Basically, adding stuff to a list of skills or taking away stuff, such as making fight and shoot all one skill, such as attack. That is expansion and compression. You're taking two skills, compressing them into one skill, but they both do the same thing. So let's say we take fight and shoot and change it to one skill, we'll call it attack. Okay, no matter what, if I'm attacking you from range or I'm attacking you with fight, it's all going to be the same skill. Or you can expand on that. So instead of like for instance, shoot would be probably something that you would use with a gun, but how about a siege weapon or something like that? So you would expand a bit more on that, because you wouldn't necessarily try to aim accuracy with a gigantic catapult, but you would have your guys do that, but you're still the one pulling the trigger. Just some ideas. Ooh, excuse me for a minute. Getting ready to talk, and I, had to take a sip of water. These are just ideas and tips and tricks about how to expand on the setting to make it work for you and to make it your own. To make it your own flair. I cannot glorify this enough. And I keep repeating myself. I know I keep repeating myself. But that's okay, because I'm just trying to emphasize on what I'm talking about here today. And like I said, I'm not trying to do with this toolkit that I'm actually doing that I did with Fate Core, because I think with Fate Core I gave you guys a bit too much information on the review that basically, why would you guys need to go buy the book, right? No, I want you guys to get these books. I want you guys, if you guys are interested in Fate, I want you guys to check this out for yourself. Other solutions that they do offer skills is adding a new skills list, adding professions, changing the approaches, such as, instead of having 6 approaches, alternating them down, or, just free-forming the skills altogether. Like, you make an entire new list. Like, you free-form everything. Another form of free-form would be using aspects of skills, which we will talk more about at a later time, because that is actually a really big chunk of this conversation when we're talking about the skills points or the skills. What kind of options that the Fate System Toolkit is offering, and ideas that they're trying to expand on. Using aspects of skills is a big chunk of that chapter. So we are not even going to talk about that today, because that is a bit bigger complication. Not complication. I don't know if that's really the word. It's a completely different outlook on that. So we're going to talk about that at a later time, because that in itself is going to require its own review. And then, they even bring up stuff on structural changes, such as pyramid alternatives. Instead of using pyramids, you use columns. Or you do something that takes larger steps. Or, like I said, go back to using aspects of skills, or basically aspects only is what we like to call it, which is no skills at all. You just use aspects only. Once again, that too would probably go under the using the aspects of skills, which is basically, instead of you putting a skill by a pyramid value, you would put the aspect by the pyramid value. Once again, we're going to have to talk about that at a later time, because it does go into how you can restructure the system to fit your flair, to fit what you want it to do. This is offering a complete free form on that. And I cannot emphasize that enough. they do talk about using skills and modes, changing the ratings, reinforcing the skills, improving the skills, which we won't go much into. They do talk about other types of skill functions in the book, and I think that is worth, like I said, worth checking out. So, I mean, that's what it offers as far as aspects and skills. The next major thing that the Fate System Toolkit does bring to the table is when it starts talking about how to manipulate or change stunts and how they work. Stunts is a big part of this entire system. Okay, such as you do have, they talk about how to make stunts more flexible, how to make stunts more aspected. What they mean by that is by using aspects to make the stunts more powered by the aspects, whether it's a free invoke or it's severely restricted. There's triggered effects stunts where if a certain thing happens to your character, it triggers your stunt. Kind of like it's you triggered my trap card, you activated my trap card. Oh, what is that Yu-Gi-Oh thing? Is like, you know what? Boy, I don't know really how to, basically that's what it is. Triggered effects is basically activating a trap card during a trading card game thing. So you activated my trap card. Here you go, I guess. Triggered effects are pretty fun. I've actually used those with some of my characters, and I've actually used those with some of my NPCs. So they do bring in some more broad. They actually do bring in some broad stunts, is what I like to call them. They broaden the range of stunts, and they actually changed the stunt rubric. There's not really a rubric for you to really put together. I mean, unless you want to form it in your head. I wouldn't say there's really a rubric, but it does make some changes to with how stunts work, and how you can add your own flair by broadening the range of the stunts. And then there's combined stunts, where you combine a couple stunts together, and it's like when you got, like, you could use a stunt that you can always use whenever you spend a fate point, and then you can compare it to a stunt that has a triggered effect. So whenever you spend a fate point, you activate a stunt, and then something happens to your character, it activates its triggered effect at the same exact time. It's like powerful, right? So I mean, I don't know really how else to put that. And if you guys didn't hear me before, I do apologize. I leaned a little bit away from my mic. I'm not quite sure how. I mean, I'm not really seeing much of a flicker here with my avatar, so I don't know. But I can hear myself, so I'm not trying to lean too much into the mic. And I'm operating with a brand new microphone than I normally do have. So anyway, without going too much into that, so the toolkit also starts talking about how you can adjust starting stunts, how you can adjust starting refresh, and adjust the stunt cost. It gives you, once again, ideas and flares and stuff that you can add in yourself that makes sense to your system. I've actually used the Fate System Toolkit to actually make, I don't know if you guys like anime. I love anime. One of my favorite animes is Fairy Tail. If you guys haven't seen Fairy Tail, I do recommend checking it out. You can watch it on Funimation. It is a really great show. Another anime I like is Bleach. A lot of people don't like Bleach based on how the writer did things, but I don't know anything about that. I just know those are the complaints I've heard. I don't really care. I like Bleach. I read the mangas, and I've seen the anime. Okay, and apparently they're coming out with something new on that, but I don't know. I mean, I've only heard what I heard from the grapevine. That's not what I'm here for. So I like animes, and I've actually used the Fate System Toolkit in aspects, and ideas that they've given us in this book, to actually make an anime style game. For instance, I'm running a Bleach type game with a player right now because they like Bleach too, and they also like Fairy Tail. So I'm probably going to do that. Now with Bleach, I've used the Fate Core system, and with Fairy Tail, I've used the Fate Accelerated system. So yeah, I've done a little bit, I've dabbled. So all right. So we've been kind of talking, and I don't know if I've sold you guys on this quite yet. We are going to go through more of this book. I think this is about the halfway marker. Because like I said, this book is not as long as the Fate Core book. Fate Core book had over 300 pages. This only had like maybe close to 200. The biggest thing that this book actually goes into is sort of the broad big game type stuff, such as they do offer you ideas about how to use character generation options. They do offer you pre-compels as aspects design. They talk about what those are in the book. Like I said, if you don't have this book and you're not following along with us, I'm not going to sit here and go through the book, each individual that of the key points that I'm trying to touch base here, but go check it out for yourself. It is a really good read. Um, and they even say, they even tell you how you can use aspects as events, which, that part there, I'm not going to talk about that because that kind of sounds like using aspects as, using quests, aspects as quests or objectives, or, it's basically what an event is. When an event happens, such as a festival, you're going to go to a festival, which happens at a certain time, then you flip over the card, the festival's happening. I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. And then they tell you about how you can adjust to a power level, like how you can adjust the starting point, the starting skills, starting approaches, and how you adjust the values for that. So that is pretty much how that covers that. And I think, like I said, that's about half. All the key points we hit are about halfway through the book now. So I'm probably going to do another stream here relatively quickly, not necessarily today, because like I said, I'm doing the solo. So this is about, so if you guys are not sold on the differences on this quite yet, I do apologize. Maybe I'm not telling the review correctly. But those are basically the major points of what the Fate System Toolkit has to offer. Now, there's other things that it has to offer, such as the magic system. It tells you how Fate views a magic system, and even tells you how you can adjust the magic system to your own flair. It's really good read. Even has a subsystem. The subsystems are not magic, but more of the kung fu system, where you can start using like kung fu moves, a kung fu punch, as a stunt, or you can use kung fu, or any type of, like, you can create a stunt and how it creates an advantage, or how you use it for attack or defense. It actually gives you an entire separate system. Another type of an example of a subsystem is cybernetics. Now, I told you guys that at the end of this, I was going to tell you how I've implemented some of these ideas into my Fate games. And one of the main things I like to use is armor and weaponry. They have it in the book, red dice and blue dice. Now, I actually for a long time screwed that up. I did not know why we would do that. The red dice is used for weapons. The blue dice is used for armor. Now, what had happened? Now, here's how it works. And I'm going to tell you guys how this one works, because I think that is a very awesome system. And I do implement that in all of my Fate games to some degree or another. When you are attacking someone and their armor obviously is going to give them some form of protection, it's going to, help them defend against you. When you roll a red dice, when you roll a red dice, the red dice is determined by the gun's rating or the weapon's rating. And I always have ratings like, okay, basic, like one-handed weapons, regardless if it's a melee or range, is a rating of 1. Okay, so let's say you're attacking someone using a pistol or an energy pistol. So energy pistols would be a rating of 3, I think, or even 2. We'll just use regular pistol. Okay, so you're gonna roll, but they're wearing Kevlar armor, which is a bit medium, so it's about a rating of a 2. Well, you got a rating of a 1. So you're gonna roll your standard 4 Fate dice, and you're gonna roll your red one with it. So you're gonna roll 5 Fate dice. Now when you add up your attack, you don't add the red dice right away. Let me explain. So you're gonna go ahead and roll your 4 Fate dice with your 5th dice. And then you're going to separate your, regardless if it comes out negative, blank, or positive, you're going to put that aside. And then you're going to say, oh, I got +2 with my attack, which is say your attack's 2, so it's 4, and you got a rating of 1, which is 5. Now, some ways they do it, they say add the whatever it is from the dice, and then you're going to do something else with the red dice. Okay. Me, I just say if you got a rating of 1, you add that rating. So they did, they attack you for 5, while someone else defends. Let's say they defend they use athletics. They would still, because they're using athletics to defend, basically dodge. They would still add that. So they got, like, say 3, and then they got 5. So it's like they met that. But they roll their 2 blue dice and they see what they got. Okay, so then you take the red and the blue dice, and here's how this works. Okay, let's say, for instance, both blue dice, all right, come up as negatives, and the one red dice of the person who was attacking came up with a positive. That positive and that negative cancel each other out, but they got one blue negative. So even though the damage is completely absorbed by the armor, but the armor suffers 1 point of damage because they did get 1 negative, which is still standing. All right, which is bad if you roll negative. For instance, if you rolled, let's say, 1 negative and 1 positive, all right, so you take the positive red dice, cancel out with the negative blue dice as normal, and you get the 1 positive, which means nothing happens. So it sucks when a person rolls a negative, but it's better if you roll a positive. It's a bit complicated, so I did things a little bit differently. That's the part I did change. But the way it all now, so let's say you get a negative red dice, and then you get 2 positive dice. All right. Well, it's still the armor, takes the bullet, but no damage happens to the armor. So and then now when a weapon gains a negative red dice, or let's say they have 1 negative red dice left over to attack, well, the armor still doesn't gain damage and the gun jams. A lot of different things can happen with that, but you don't actually add, to me, you don't actually add those dice in there. I think the book does explain it a little bit different, but that's how I implement this system into that. And I've also used the Kung Fu system, and I've used my own magic system. I've actually used the toolkit to help me make my own magic system. So this does bring a lot of flair. I even used the toolkit to make superpowers before Venture City, the Venture City setting came out. So yeah, this system, this book does offer up a lot. We are going to cover some more of this in a totally separate stream as well. I'm going to go through the book and see what else I could break down for you guys that I did not cover in this stream, and which I think I covered most of it, because the subsystem, the Kung Fu subsystem, is a thing, the cybernetics. And now cybernetics is another thing that a lot of people, how do you implement cybernetics into a system? Well, the way I use it is, well, if you got a cybernetic arm and you attack with that arm, you gain a +2 or a +1 to your roll. It gives you a bonus as long as you're using that arm. But if you're not using that arm, then you don't gain that bonus. Now, if you have 1 cybernetic arm and 1 not, I don't really give you a +1, +2 bonus unless you have a gun hidden inside the arm. We are going to have to go through some of the games that we do have. Like one game that I did make up with both Toby. I don't know if Toby was directly involved, but I know the Witch King was, as well as someone else, a couple other people, and we actually created a game called the One Last Thing. I know it's a weird title, but it's just because we kept saying one last thing. We made an entire science fiction game where you have cybernetics, you have psionics, and we actually implemented a lot of the Fate System Toolkit into our game. And we actually added species, which, the Fate System Toolkit talks about adding different types of species and how all that works. And I even think the system talks about how you can use this toolkit to implement different types of extras, which I think is where species comes in at, because each species would have its own different uniqueness so it would count as an extra. So yeah, I mean, just this takes the Fate core game and the Fate accelerated system, which is both Fate. It takes Fate and expands, very much expansion. And I think I pretty much covered everything. We covered the subsystem of Kung Fu and cybernetics. Kung Fu would be like, if there's different forms of karate, different forms of martial arts actually does a different thing. You have some forms that are more for striking, some forms that are more for defending, some forms to create an advantage to use against main people. Now I'm not a martial arts expert, but I've heard that being explained to me before, depending on if you go get trained under Tai Chi or Jiu-Jitsu, their forms are different, and they use things differently. Like I said, I'm not an expert and I'm not going to go into it, but it basically tells you how you can implement Kung Fu as a separate subsystem, as well as cybernetics and magic, and it's just really cool. Even tells you how you can implement superpowers into this. I have done my own. I am going to go over, without going too much into superpowers right now, because even though this does talk about superpowers, there is still Venture City, and I did like Venture City. So we're going to do a review on Venture City in the future. I'm actually going to probably prep that for that. Once we get done, I'm going to go through this checklist here of everything I wanted to touch base on today with all my key points to make sure I hit all the key points. And if so, then I'm going to jump to the next one. Now, the other two books I do own because I do love them is the Fate Horror Toolkit, where you can implement scariness into your Fate and actually make it like a real horror movie. Like, basically, yeah, you guys are running from Jason Voorhees or something like that, or Freddy Krueger. And it tells you how you can actually probably scare the crap out of your players. We are going to go a little bit into that. And then Venture City, because I love superheroes and I love comic books too. Oh yeah, guys didn't know I love comic book superheroes. Oh yeah, I own DC. I own the DC Encyclopedia that goes all the way from the time it started all the way up to the New 52, and I also do the Marvel, which just ended their last one, not their new current run, but the last run that they did. And I love history, history stuff like that. So, and I think, like I said, we hit a lot of key points. So yeah, please, get online, see if you guys can get this book and check it out for yourselves. So other than that, to basically let you guys know what's going on, the actual demonstration plays that I've been doing with my co-hosts, the Witch King and Toby, without disclosing too much of what happened or what's going on, I'm just not going to do it. We're just not doing that actual play right now. I will do another form of regular Fate Accelerated actual play, probably with them, but I'm not doing the Matrix setting anymore. I'm not going to go into why that is. I'm just not doing it. All right, so that's that. So I got to come up with a new setting for that, and then we got to come up with how conversion works, which I think we did cover that in a stream, and then we'll just go from there. And then I'm going to probably run another stream with some actual plays with both those systems, both the Fate Core and the Fate Accelerated, about how we implement the System Toolkit a little bit. Honestly, we're probably not going to go too much into the breakdown like I have been. I think I'm going to show you guys some of the games that I have written. I have wrote a game called The World on Fire, which the title is not really serious at all. I'm not going to lie. I didn't want to call it World on Fire. I just called it that because it was a game that I made in 2017 using the Fate Core system that I just wanted to play with some friends. I couldn't keep doing D20 because I was working a lot at the time. So that's where I got stuck with the Fate system. And as much as I hate to say it, so I ran World on Fire 2017 as a means to an end, just to get my gaming fix. Not meant to actually really do much of anything. It was supposed to just be a gaming fix, and I ran it from 2017, and I had to kill the game in 2019. I could not run it no more. I got tired. I talked about maybe, hey, let's take a break and run Star Wars. The players did not like that. I hosted it for over 35 players. total, not all at once, and basically hosted it for 25 players total. Like I said, not all at once. That's how many different players I had with that game, and I ran it for almost 3 years. It went well over 2, almost into 3, and I said, okay, that's enough. I talked about, without going too much into it, let's just say I offended some people when I talked about trying to get into Star Wars or something different. I wanted a different setting because I ran that every weekend for 2 straight years. Every weekend for 2 straight years, almost 3. Okay, I wanted to do other games and nobody else wanted to, so I ended up having to kill it, and I've never gone back to it since. Oh no, that's a lie. I have gone back to it with a couple other friends, but like we didn't really make it all about that. It's not that I didn't have, issues. I just wanted to play other games. The Dungeons and Dragons, wanted to play, Star Wars. Who doesn't like Star Wars? Okay, you know what? Don't answer that. I think a lot of people don't like Star Wars more in today's time, but I don't know. I still like Star Wars. I just don't care for the new movies. That's my thing. So yeah, I wanted to do other things besides play in a modern day setting with vampires, demons, and werewolves and all that stuff. So I mean, it offers up a lot, and that's where I actually formed my own magic system and implemented that. But the magic system is still somewhat derived from actual the Fate System Toolkit. So I'm actually going to probably get some players together, and we're going to do some actual plays with that, demonstrating that. And we're just actually going to show you how to best demonstrate. We're just going to play, and I hope people do watch, because I'm just going to get some players together. We're going to just play that for a little bit to show you guys how I did that. I did even do a Star Wars Fate Edition because D6 was okay. I didn't care for the D20 version of Star Wars too much. And plus I didn't have any of that stuff. So I did my own Fate Edition Star Wars setting where I was, formulating some things on that. So, I mean, that one was a little bit more complicated. And, it was a little bit more complicated because, I didn't have a lot of things to go off of, but I knew about the eras, and I had to do a lot of research, and I'm still kind of working on some things for that because I just love how you can implement stuff in Fate using science fiction. I think Fate does do science fiction really, really well. I'm not going to say compared to other systems because I don't know. I mean, now don't get me wrong, I did a Star Wars Fate Edition, but I like Star Wars Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, and Force and Destiny. And I actually do own those books too. Those are Star Wars books I actually do own and do have, which is, when I was translating all the way to Fate, I was collecting those books as well. So, I mean, it is just, what can I say? It is just, some things. So that's some things I've been working on, and I want to show you guys this, and do some actual plays. We're going to get away from reviews for a little bit and do some actual plays regarding that. And we're not going to be, so hopefully you guys can understand. And if not, leave comments. Please, if you do check out my channel and you have questions, please leave comments. I do have a Discord server, which I'm going to probably start implementing that in my videos as well. I just didn't do it right now. So if you guys do have questions and you guys want to know more about the system, about the Fate system, you can always reach out to me. You can go through my Discord. You can leave comments on here. I will try and get back to you. And I do check this daily. So, I am here. So another couple things that I am working on that I do want to announce too is we are going to do a review on D20, not Dungeons and Dragons, D20 in general, and the system. And I'm going to cover a bit more things that I want to talk about the D20 system going in the near future, because D20 is the most common used system. So we are going to talk more about that. And I am working on a D20 project. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm just going to tell you we're going to do an actual play with my new D20 project at some point in the future when I am done with it. So let's see, what else am I working on that we are going to be covering on this channel? I think that's pretty much it for right now. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going, please watch for my next video. I think we're going to still cover some things from the Fate System Toolkit. I cannot promise that, because it may be something different. And then let me see, what else do I have planned? I know I have the Fate Horror Toolkit planned. Oh, also keep a watch on the channel because I am going to show you the quality of the Fate System Toolkit book. I am going to do a video of the book versus the PDF versus both and tell you guys which one I think would be a very good investment for anyone to check into. And I'm going to do some research and see what, things are as of today. I mean, like I stated before previously, you had, the Fate Core book. The physical copy is only $25, and I think we checked on Drive-Thru RPG, and it still pay what you want for the PDF. So I mean, for $25, you could get both. I invested a little bit more in because I did donate. I think I did donate. I can't remember. It was so long ago that I bought these books. And then the Fate System Toolkit, I don't know the exact price on that for the physical copy, but we will cover that at a later time. But the Fate Accelerated was only like $5 for the physical copy book. So now I won't show you the Fate Accelerated because I have not been able to get my hands on that because shipping and handling is just way out there because the book is that cheap. So these, for very little money, what I would find to be the smallest investment of all time, you can definitely get yourself going with some tabletop games and start collecting and start, Fate is mostly a sandbox type system, as I explained earlier on. So, I mean, to me, it's worth it. I love Fate, and I'm doing a lot with Fate. And I'm going to show you guys what I have done with Fate going into the future. We are going to do some actual plays. So do please watch, keep track of my channel. If you do see, for my current plus future viewers, if you are on my channel, please like and subscribe if you do like what you see here today. Please leave comments. I do love comments. I do love to see positive feedback. If I get negative feedback, that's fine too. I do actually implement feedback pretty well. What else? Like I said, keep watch because I am going to do some actual plays. We are going to change from doing reviews. And I think that's pretty much everything I have here today. So yeah, I am going to show you guys my World on Fire game. I think we are going to do a Star Wars actual play. We are changing the times because I do want to make sure the players that I do gather, I think I'm just going to gather a bunch of players that are willing to learn and be molded to this system a little bit and to experience the system for the first time. I think when I do get a player base going for this, we're going to change the times that works for everybody. So, me, I'm pretty much good any time of the day. This is what I like to do. So, all right. Well, that is everything I have for today. As I told you guys about what I've written and what I'm currently working on, and I've went through the review of the Fate System Toolkit. Please look for part 2 if we do have one. If not, I will definitely announce that on the next video. So at this time, this is Tabletop Junkie. I'm going to give you my famous salute. Work hard, play hard, game hard, everybody, because this is a Friday. Please enjoy your weekend. Please be safe out there. Get in some tabletop games. I am definitely building a table as we speak. Not an actual table. I mean a virtual table. I'm getting players. I feel like I should have expressed that a little bit like that because, there is a lot of do-it-yourselves tabletop table craftsmen out there on YouTube. I definitely check. I've been checking some of those out, and I definitely want to build my own gaming table and my own studio someday. So I am actually working on a studio, my own studio for streaming and tabletop gaming and all that stuff. So that is another future project I'm working on, but that's kind of a little bit further down the road. But right now it's just creating games using pre-existing systems or changing the system to fit what I want to do and what I want to care about. And I care about role playing. Role playing is important. Combat, not so much important. I want to focus on character development more than anything. So once again, to give you my proper salute, work hard, play hard, game hard, everybody. Please be safe. Enjoy your weekend. Get in on some tabletop gaming because I know I'm going to. And I want you guys to have a great and safe day and weekend. This is Tabletop Junkie signing off.